Jehovih spoke from the light of the throne of God-Gur, saying, Hear the words of your Creator, O you counselors of heaven. They, of mortality, spin, weave and make clothes, they learn in the places of learning. Neither do I, Jehovih, condemn them. But my angelic physicians are tired, my angelic nurses are tired, my angelic teachers are tired. Be wise, O my sons and daughters. Who has reformed a beggar by giving to him? What physician prevents sickness by healing? They, of mortality, bring forth in deformity on the earth, and you, O counselors, must cure them in heaven. They, of mortality, squat on their haunches, on their buttocks and thighs, on earth, and they squat the same way in heaven, and you, O counselors, must cure them. Go to the root of the matter, O my beloved counselors. Send word down to the kingdoms of my lords, and say to them, Thus says Jehovih. Follow them of mortality, O my lords. Double the number of Ashars, guardian angels, double the Luis, masters of generations. Leave no young man alone, leave no young woman alone. Keep watch over them day and night, give them visions and dreams of Apollo, of harmony, symmetry and gracefulness. For I, Jehovih, am concerted, which is to say, united, organized and moving in a coordinated manner, in heaven and on earth to remold the forms of the earth-born. Jehovih said, Hear your Creator, O Gao. Make 7 more plateaus for the second resurrection. Out of the idolatry of my son, Apollo, I, Jehovih, will beautify the inhabitants of the earth. And the cast and mold of men and women shall become a great power. Jealousies will overspread the earth, jealousies will rise in the first resurrection. Make 7 more plateaus in the second resurrection, and sort the Essenes, the newly deceased, in the hour of their birth into spirit life. God-Gur and the council perceived, and so God appointed workmen, and fulfilled the commandments of Jehovih. And he established 700 tributary kingdoms of the second resurrection belonging to Gao. These tributary sub-kingdoms were provided with sub-gods, second in rank below the lords, of whom there were 10,000 who had direct supervision over mortals, and all the lords had a sufficiency of guardian angels, Ashars, and Luis, masters of generations, so that they could direct any required number to particular mortals as they chose. The lords mostly established their heavenly kingdoms in the temples where mortals came to worship, and they inspired mortals to establish spirit chambers near the altars, where the prophets sat to learn the decrees of the Lord. The Luis, masters of generations, also came here to the Lord's place to receive their appointments over mortals, for the purpose of bringing about marriages acceptable before Jehovih. On the other hand, the affairs of the sub-gods were holy with matters in heaven, except when commanded by the lords for special work. And the situation, came to pass, that mortals and their affairs were directed and governed by the decrees of the lower heavens, and these again by the Etherian heavens, which were of Jehovih direct. So Jehovih changed the forms of the earth-born, but they became worshippers of Apollo, accrediting to one another Jehovih's perfection in them, according to the form and figure, to the aesthetic appeal, of the flesh. And because of the idolatry of the women for Apollo, their children were born of good flesh, and shapely, so that, in 400 years, the hair on their heads grew long and straight, and men began to have beards. Neither did any young man consider any virtue in a young woman so important as her form, nor did young women value any virtue in man so great as a well-molded form. And when mortals died and their spirits entered the first resurrection, half the labor of the Asafs, the receiving angels, was accomplished. So God-Gur changed the Essene period to 3 years, except for the heirs of cousins, uncles and aunts, which was left at 5 years, presumably to correct any learning limitation wrought in the flesh, due to the expression of harmful traits.